Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Level 1 News. It's Turkey Week here in the U.S. And are we doing a live episode this week?
Monday.
Next week. Next week's
news
will be live.
Well, this will be on Tuesday.
For the whole week. Yeah.
They can't get it wrong with Monday.
It's confusing because we're recording ahead of time.
Because it's, the Thanksgiving holiday. The holiday that celebrates family dysfunction here in America.
Looking forward to that.
You guys driving home?
It feels like an obligation at this point, right?
I must return to the source, but Mom lives here now, so.
Oh, well, that makes it a little easier, right? Or do you have extended family you go see?
No, I have to go purge.
Oh. I have to drive to opposite ends of the state for my husband's family and mine, which is not fun.
Why do we do this?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, I like seeing the family. I just hate driving.
Well, you know who doesn't have to deal with that? The people that live in space. They got the perfect excuse, right? Oh, look, God, I'd love to make it this year. That cranberry sauce, it's amazing, but
I'm in orbit. Sorry.
Just can't do it. So, in 2024, you might think to yourself, I'm going to strive to be one of those people. I'm not just going to live in space. I'm going to be a moon colonist. Well, hang on.
NASA's moon landing will likely be delayed by several years beyond 2024, auditors say. So, much of government, contractor nuts and bolts types were looking around and saying, we don't have any of the stuff that we need to get to and stay on the moon.
Including the Starship. Now, you might be thinking, why did you start with the space story? And it's because I didn't click on the first tab. Do we start that over or we'll just roll with it?
Let's just roll with it.
It's
funnier.
So
I can give you the transition, which is also, if you want to avoid responsibility, just say you're working on your Devember project and the prize is really important to you, because we've got that going on as well. This week would be a great week to really knock out some Devember stuff. Also,
Minecraft server, if you're feeling less productive, but more, I just want to play a game with friends.
You can play Minecraft on a potato.
Very dramatic, friends. How is that a transition? That has nothing to do with this.
Come be a child with us at forum.level1text.com. In related news,
I think it's better to maybe give a little bit of backstory here. So we learned from some leaked documents, actually I think they were court discoveries, right?
Yeah.
That Facebook is actively targeting. They know that Facebook is dead. That's why they transitioned to Meta. They know that the only way Meta can survive is to capture the youth. And yet, they've been taking a lot of flack about how they affect the youth.
What's funny about that? Well, states are investigating how Instagram recruits and affects children. So these documents inside Facebook were like talking about targeting children. And then there was one email that was like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be discussing this over email.
Well, there's a lot of attorneys general who have read that and smelled blood and or money in the water, and they're coming for them. And what defense do they have?
It affects them
poorly. We were just talking about it. We weren't actually going to do it.
Here is, get ready for this one. You might want to sit down. Truth from a central banker. How did we ever get here?
Well, it's only being covered by Cleveland business.
That's the paywall alternative. Yeah. Bloomberg had it.
Bank-only stablecoins limit innovation, officials says at the Cleveland Fed conference. This is actually somebody inside the Fed. He was quickly whisked away and never to be heard from again.
His feet are being beaten with bamboo poles right now at the bottom of the Fed. So he makes some great points about how, hey, if we give the banks control of all the stablecoins, isn't that just going to be more of the same? Probably would. And once in a while, the U.S. government does manage to catch somebody who is scamming. And when they get a hold of crypto, it's kind of nice because usually, in the meantime, it's gotten a lot more valuable.
U.S. government seizes $56 million in crypto from BitConnect's quote-unquote #1 promoter. Now, BitConnect was a scam. Absolutely 100% scam. It was touted as though it was an algorithmic trading platform to automatically trade in the various different cryptos. And so you could buy into this fund like an index fund, but it was actually a Ponzi scheme.
That $56 million, when he made it by scamming, was worth $24 million. What an emotional roller coaster.
Well, the scam, though, was worth $2 billion, so this seems like pennies.
Well, that was just his part of it.
Yeah.
They didn't get the scammers. They just got one guy who was hyping it really bad. It was a Ponzi scheme, so you had to constantly bring new people in. And it seemed like they may have like red-pilled him at some point and be like, listen, you're really good at this. Here's your cut.
This is just MLMs for crypto bros.
That's exactly that, yeah.
Hey, if he avoids jail time, then okay, I guess whatever.
You think he gave him all of it? I don't think so. There's something squirreled away somewhere, right? And BlockFi has offered high-yield crypto accounts. It is probably a little risky. It's certainly not FDIC insured, and maybe illegal.
BlockFi is in the SEC crosshairs for high-yield crypto accounts. Now, I did some digging, and it seems the SEC is interested in this because of its 9.5% return rate, which doesn't seem super outrageous. But when you ask the SEC, what's your evidence of wrongdoing here, they say 9.5% return rate, which is all they have right now.
10% without doing anything is unheard of.
Yeah. Unless you're like a billionaire.
But there is a massive amount of risk there. I think those accounts do contain risk, right?
Yeah.
So you could definitely make 10% taking that kind of risk somewhere else. Maybe they don't state that enough. That could be part of the complaint. And part of that moon landing that's not going to happen is the Starship. If the Starship doesn't go, the moon landing doesn't go. So this is maybe some good news.
Elon Musk says SpaceX will, quote unquote, hopefully launch the first orbital Starship flight in January. Let's get out our Elon Musk translator. Full self-driving, definitely coming.
Yeah, anything I hear from him, like unless it was the engineers at SpaceX, I'm like, I'm going to take this with a giant grain of salt.
Autonomous moon taxi by 2025.
There's some engineer who's screaming, no! They're like watching their TV.
It's one of those high-pitched screams you can hear across the cube farm. It's like you just enter the entrance and you can hear a distant as they read the headline.
You know what's going to be hilarious is, when we're old and we get to watch Musk slip into dementia with all that money.
It's not fun to watch for anybody, but especially not for someone with that much money.
Like you said, Musk has made some promises about full self-driving. They haven't come to pass. Somehow the defenders still have blinders on about that. How many years has it been now?
It's been a while.
But the other people who have failed at that have not actually put their cars on the road. That's the difference.
Apple accelerates work on its car project aiming for a fully autonomous vehicle. But wait, you say, didn't they sell off all of their people that were working on that? This is an entirely new set of people.
That seems like a healthy work environment, right?
Well, it does seem like the whole project is kind of, like falling apart. They did have two branches. One was the self-driving and one was just kind of like a Tesla, right? Like a semi-self-driving, and they decided there's no future in that.
Oh, also, I meant to let you guys know, every time we have, a broken Elon Musk promise come up, we shouldn't immediately go to full self-driving. We should immediately go to, he's going to single-handedly pay for clean drinking water for Flint, Michigan. He also promised that, but everybody forgot about that one.
Oh, wow.
When did he promise that?
2018.
But man, he got his name in the headlines for a few days, which is probably the real goal.
Yeah, it was like, if they don't fix that, I'm going to come in and single-handedly make sure everybody's got potable water to the national standards. That was 2018.
Talks to his engineers, and they're like, we work on space rockets. We don't handle water
So
purification.
you're saying he didn't give a date? Could still do it, right? Well, Apple is getting into the identification card business, spurred by the vaccine stuff, most likely, I would say.
We covered this like 2 or 3 months ago, and it was like, how are they going to do it?
Yeah, well, turns out they had a good plan. It doesn't involve working around it with technology. It involves greasing some pockets, most likely.
Apple is sticking taxpayers with part of the bill for rollout of tech giant's digital ID card. So this is really awesome, but also insidious. They've gone to your local DMV and they've said, this is the technology that we're using. This is how it works. You either get on board or we just don't work with you. So if you want to use Apple's digital ID, they're basically setting the rules and setting the standards and setting the technology. Now, Apple has a lot of control from like a managerial standpoint, but they're not actually picking like the DMV photography equipment or anything like that. They're just making sure that it works and is compatible with all of their stuff. So on the one hand, I think about the dysfunction inside your typical, local and regional government office. But on the other hand, I think about Apple, and it's like, ugh.
Remember
Which do I hate more?
back during the pandemic days, and I suffered from this because I switched my address, then I tried to buy a gun, and they were like, nope, you can't do it. So I was like, all right, let me run to the DMV.
Nope.
There's no such thing.
It was down for 3 days. You think that's not going to happen with Apple technology? I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's horrifying. Everything is terrible. Why?
And the people who have read the contract and, talked about it anonymously because they know what will happen if Apple finds out, they brought up the term that comes up over and over and over in this contract, and it is sole discretion. Apple will have sole discretion on so many things, including the release date.
Yeah.
So the state's like, if they want to roll this out, nope, you need Apple's permission.
Tim Cook has to come, and you have to personally wash his feet in order for the blessing to... It's just a thing. Don't make it a thing. It's weird.
And, of course, we see a lot of paywalls when we look at this stuff because I refuse to pay for any of it. And if you do pay for it, unfortunately, they have this nasty little thing that they do to try to hang on to you because those subscribers are everything in their world. The FTC and Lady Rosenworcel
I saw that. Her tweets about this were amazing.
has stepped up.
The end of click to subscribe, call to cancel, one of the new news industry's favorite retention tactics, is illegal, the FTC says. So yes, Miss Lena Khan has said, hey, if you make people call to cancel but you can sign up online, that is not legal. You should be able to cancel online just as easily as you sign up online. If you make people call to sign up and you make people call to cancel, that's also fine, but it can't be easy to sign up and hard to cancel.
I said Rosenworcel, that's FCC. This one, it blew my mind. I was like, how can this possibly work? But according to the study, now the study was pretty small.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of this is actually real, but it's that whole placebo thing. Like, if it works, why not, right?
VR treatment for chronic pain gets FDA authorization. Once again, Gabe Newell predicting the future. I'm, of course, thinking of the Meet the Pyro video.
This is not quite that. It doesn't overlay happiness onto the world. What it does is it tries to, it amplifies your breathing into your ears and then forces you to try and focus on that, to do like the breath meditation type of thing. And I think there's more to it, like walking you through it, maybe doing some visual stuff. But I think it was like 40% said that they had 3 months of lower pain.
Huh.
Or no, they had 3 months of 41% lower pain.
I could see, I don't understand how the chronic pain stuff works, but I could see it being helpful, like for seasonal depression. Like when we got that VR headset and got to try it out, like the first room you go into when you start it up was like a room with like nature and trees, and I was like, oh, I could see this being cheerful when it's cold and dark outside.
I thought the ping pong game was really nice because you were playing ping pong in these amazing houses looking over natural scenery and stuff.
Yeah, so I could see it being good for that. I don't know if that would help chronic pain, but maybe.
Well, according to these guys, and it was people who had ongoing pain for like 6 months. So presumably it was people who were familiar with pain.
Yeah.
And I expect they were honest about it because why would you lie about that, right? Doesn't that just mean like, okay, we're going to give you less pills?
Yeah, exactly.
There's probably something to that. I mean, when I was working on the house, I hurt my shoulder, and I hurt it so bad that I could hear my shoulder moving. Like I would move my shoulder and it would hurt, but I could also hear it. And it made this thing where, like, I think when I heard it, I was expecting the pain, and it was sort of crazy. And that was one of the only times where playing music or something in the background while I was working on the garage actually helped, because I couldn't hear my shoulder anymore. So maybe something like that.
It's like turning up the car stereo when the engine starts making a noise. It's not recommended. I'm with you, though. I wouldn't have gone to a hospital for that.
No.
These days, no way.
I know. I don't have enough Bitcoin for that.
Well, Nvidia, man, the headlines just keep coming. It is bad news, although they did get some good news we'll talk about in the business section this week. The UK continues to be a thorn in their paw.
Nvidia and that ARM deal, that might not go through after all. I'm paraphrasing the Bloomberg headline, of course, but there's a lot of coverage of this in business circles. They're making a really big deal out of this in the business the business trade rags and stuff. But the actual regulatory thing here, I don't think the UK government closed the door on this completely. They're just asking for their grift.
Well, it's another part of the government.
Yeah.
Another hand in that pocket. And boy, is it crowded in there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all sweaty and slimy in there.
Everyone's fingers are groping around on each
Yeah.
other.
It's like, I'm not trying to hold your hand, other regulatory agency. I'm just trying to find some money.
And they're like, that's not my hand. If you'll recall, back when we first started to get a taste of this bulk data collection stuff, when like the Patriot Act and all that, one of the nasty tricks they pulled here in the U.S. was like, oh, hey, we're not capturing your data. Now, we might be sending it to Germany, who might be capturing it, who might be sharing it with us. But that's totally different. And Germany has...
That sounds like the same thing with more steps.
No, totally different. And Germany has always had... their policy on data collection has always been pretty severe. Like, we want it all. We're going to take it all. But Germany is a member of the EU.
Advisor to EU's top court suggests that the German bulk data collection retention law isn't legal. It's like, you have to save all this data, but keep it private. But you have to save it. But you also have to keep it private. But you also have to save it. And it's like, wouldn't deleting it be the ultimate form of privacy? No. No.
Gotta have it. Do you know that the EU is planning to have a military? That sounds like a bad idea.
That sounds amazing. What are you talking about?
That makes me want to garden harder.
Well, France is perhaps taking a different approach, although I don't think this is indicative of the entire French government. I think this is probably one voice, but it is a voice that we should listen to.
The French government to speed up deployment of open source. Long story short, the French government is looking at, the various industries, and they're saying, we're buying a lot of software that's the same software over and over again. The software isn't particularly innovative. Why don't we just fund the open source version to get some of the features that we need? And then we have it forever.
Or just build it all ourselves.
Or just build it all ourselves.
I mean, look, open source, money goes a long way in open source.
It does.
Yeah, so they could easily fund that. They got that. Wasn't it Germany?
Yes.
Who switched all of their Microsoft products in the government to Linux and OpenOffice and stuff like that, and that worked wonderfully.
Munich.
And then the government switched, and they immediately brought Microsoft in.
Yes. There was a change of the parties, and that's sort of been weird because switching actually did raise the state of the art for open source, but then they still wanted to switch back to Microsoft and some other stuff. But it's just a question of effectively spending dollars in the right spots to solve problems.
Well, I think the switch back to Microsoft was somebody getting their pockets lined.
Well, they didn't switch completely because it turns out that both of those systems have a lot of inertia behind them, and so it's like you can't just throw a switch and do one or the other.
So then you could be miserable in two different ways.
Yeah.
Great. Well, supercomputers, we have a list of them. Every year we rank them around this time, and this year's list is interesting because everybody kind of knows, but it's an open secret that number one is not on the list.
Yeah. Fugaku remains the world's fastest supercomputer on the top 500 behind secret Chinese exascale systems. So this article says that the Chinese government has two probably supercomputers that exceed 1,000 teraflops. So this one, Fugaku, is 442 teraflops. And then down the list, it trails off pretty quickly. It's not a tight race. It's, some of the other top 500 supercomputers are on the order of 10 teraflops.
Nvidia,
what a wonderful word.
I'm sorry, petaflops. Yeah, everybody's got teraflops these days. I was like, that doesn't seem like much compute. Petaflops, my bad.
Nvidia's got one. Microsoft's got one that's all in the Azure cloud. It's not great, but it's in the top 10.
It's in the U.S. East region, and they won't say who the customer is, which probably means it's the government.
So when China isn't working on their supercomputers, they're doing a lot of secretive, meetings in the government. Oh man, I lost all the nonsense stories this week. Did the tennis player story make it in?
It's not ringing a
I
bell.
don't know.
We got to talk about the tennis player story.
We got screwed by our project management software.
Oh God, I hate it. But anyway, China. It's funny because now China is like, oh, you're going to pull out our equipment from your network? Well, guess what? We can do the same thing.
A secretive Chinese committee has drawn up a list of U.S. equipment to remove from their networks. Honestly, this is probably a little overdue. After the whole Juniper thing.
Let me say that. So, again, our software completely betrayed me this week. I was looking for paywall alternatives to this. I found an update where China has denied it officially.
Okay.
Yeah, but like Cisco, their time in international markets, like their days have to be numbered. Between some of the screw ups that they've had and hard coded backdoor passwords, and like Juniper, even if that was just blinding incompetence, it's not gonna. Come on.
It's a big market, though.
Yeah, that's true.
It's going to affect some bottom lines if it's true.
There's probably a lot of people like me, though, that are sitting there and they're like, I can totally buy those discount Hikvision cameras and just take steps to make sure that they're sandboxed properly, and then it doesn't matter that they're backdoored.
Yeah, until you get a knock on your door and there's a Fed and he's like, we saw some eBay purchases here we don't like. The other thing that China is taking a really harsh stance on is cryptocurrency.
Before the bell, Bitcoin falls as China takes aim once again at the quote-unquote extremely harmful crypto mining.
They don't like it at all.
It's just moving somewhere else. It's fine.
Well, but they say apparently a lot of it is still there, just kind of under the radar. And they subsidize electricity for schools and, other public interest. And they suspect that there's some mining rigs hidden away in a lot of those buildings.
Didn't we do a story about that? I can't remember if it was in China or not, where like a guy had a huge setup for it.
That was an American social worker.
Oh, okay.
He was the IT guy.
Yeah. He hid some of the rigs in floorboards.
Why is it so warm in here?
We've got heated floors. That's right, you do. Even in summer.
And the whole, America-China thing, it's only going to get worse, and it's getting really, really warm, if not starting on the lower portions of hot there. And when that's the case, you have to really be careful if you're a business that plays both sides.
White House spurns Intel plan to expand chip production in China. So Intel said, yeah, we've got a lot of demand in the China region. Let's expand production there. And the State Department said, not so fast.
The State Department said, oh, you know that Build Back Better money that we're going to give you? Guess why we might not give it to you?
Well, this is only fair because remember AMD was working with somebody in China, and that was Zen 1, and the State Department freaked out about that after AMD got the okay. Like AMD got the okay from the State Department, and they were like, we never said that. It's like, no, you totally did. Here's all the paperwork. And they're like, well, we changed our mind.
So your justification for this ranks AMD shilling above national security. Basically is what you're saying.
No, I was saying if it went the other way, it was like, come on, at least be consistent. Because
they've never been consistent. Portugal, and reclaimyourface.eu might not be a news site that we're used to, but again, this was on Bloomberg or someplace else, and it was paywalled. So this is what we get.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy is like, finally, a website for me.
Well, that would be terrible for him. He would be the only man getting requests. But Portugal, they have tried something nasty, and I find these guys pretty easy to believe. They seem to have some pretty good sources here.
Yeah. Proposed law to sneak in biometric mass surveillance in Portugal. Face recognition and like having all of the data points in the 3D map of your face so that can be used to identify you.
They just had that wonderful law about not being able to be contacted after hours, and they're like, let's sneak this in too.
Yeah. And this is, I think it's part of the national ID, right? So you can't really dodge it. Pretty nasty. I would like to reclaim my face, but I don't know how. Are we already into AI? We are.
Wow.
Robot, AI, and space. That's the topic. So GPT-3 is really amazing. It's incredible what it can do. It does do some weird stuff every once in a while, but they're getting better at it. The more people that use it, the better it gets, and there's some great news about that.
OpenAI's GPT-3 gets a little bit more open. If you want to experience this directly, you should go play AI Dungeon. That's probably the best way to experience this. But GPT-3 is only used at the higher paid tier of AI Dungeon.
I think they might have changed that now.
And if it's still player generated, it wants to go to porn really fast. You got to stop it from doing that.
They've really tried to get around that because there was underage type scenarios going on.
Just fanfiction.net, but with bots.
But it's doing that because it's getting trained off of literature and other people.
Yeah.
So obviously other people are immediately going to. We should revisit that sometime because they have made some changes.
That would be fun.
Check it out.
We will not be streaming on Friday, from what I understand, probably.
Yeah.
Next Friday, you mean?
Next
Well,
Friday.
it'll be Friday for them when they're watching this
Yeah.
All right.
because Thanksgiving.
I might do something.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm probably at like 60% saturation on House Flipper.
Oh, see, I haven't downloaded it yet, so I'll probably if we want to play that tonight.
Are you going to do that tonight?
I might, yeah.
The first time is pretty magical, and it does wear a little bit after that. I'm intensely disappointed you can't put windows on internal walls. So I was going to do one bathroom with a window into another bathroom. You can't do that.
Oh. I realized when I sent you that floor plan that I put two bathrooms. I put two bedrooms.
That seems
You
very-
also lined up the external doors, and that doesn't fit the reality.
Oh. I was trying to look at the little mini map when we were streaming it and trying to figure out where the doors and stuff were, but I couldn't tell easily.
Although I guess we could.
I mean, you could move them.
You can't knock down external walls, which is another huge disadvantage. You know what? This is not the House Flipper stream. This
No.
is the news.
But
So let's talk about Discord. I remember there for a while I was messing around with the Discord bots a little bit because I wanted a soundboard bot in Discord. Nobody had done that yet. I'm sure they have by now.
Yeah.
But they do have a lot of them.
Discord is quietly building an app empire of bots. So this is kind of like Slack Lite because everybody wants everything to go into Slack. It's like, oh, the build is complete. Slack. Somebody sent us an angry email. Slack. Discord is like that, but they just want integrations with other stuff. And also to be able to tell the bot to go do something so that you never really have to leave Discord.
we have one in ours, like the one that I play with my friends on, that plays music, but we constantly have to switch it. Because YouTube, it plays music from YouTube, and YouTube eventually catches on to that, and then it deletes the bot.
Yeah, they took both of those bots out. I'd say this is only going to get worse. They're probably going
Yeah.
to get bound out, right?
It's a constant cat and mouse game of changing the bot so we can play music.
I guess you can't, Spotify doesn't give you an API, right? That'd be cool.
Even some of those bots that Chris is talking about literally just embed the video. It doesn't do anything more complicated than just embed the video so that you can play it from the stream. And that's apparently not okay.
Well, it's probably not YouTube that's upset about that. It's the copyright
Yeah,
holders.
it's the copyright people.
Which seems crazy because it's YouTube is okay, but not YouTube embedded.
Because you can run ads on YouTube.
We could run
Yeah.
ad embedded too.
Oh, yeah, but then they can't see it.
Well,
I don't know. We know one thing about AI, and that is it is super, super racist. And nobody really knows what to do about it.
New York City passed a bill requiring bias audits of AI hiring tech. Okay.
So all these companies,
More bureaucracy. Yay.
it is a horrible reality that the first phase of hiring, you have to get past a robot before anybody will even look at you.
Well, look at it this way. As soon as this actually takes effect in law, if you don't get a job somewhere, you can request an audit probably and just make an insane amount of money because nobody will have anything that's even remotely compliant or have been audited.
That's a difficult thing to explain to older parents when they're talking about jobs and stuff, and it's no, you don't just walk up to someone. You have to go through the round of bots first.
I applied for a job and then I got $1 million settlement.
Maybe that's the path we need to send Nubbin on.
Oh.
You know what? Actually, the AIs probably are discriminating against him massively.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are. They
Yeah.
absolutely are.
That's funny. But because no one will ever champion Nubbin. He's the wrong demographic. Well, when it comes to supercomputers, yeah, maybe China's got the best one. But how about a supercomputer that's custom built for artificial intelligence?
Cerebras Systems raises another $250 million for the fastest AI processor on Earth. This is the whole wafer company. So they use the whole wafer at once. They don't even have to bother slicing up a wafer. They just basically dip the wafer in liquid cooling, wire it up, and you're good to go. The entire wafer is AI modules. And if one of them is weird or malfunctioning, you just don't use that one.
Trillions of transistors.
It's amazing.
If you get a bad fab on one of those, that's a sad time. It's a big loss. Jeff Bezos is, I think his popularity is definitely waning, wouldn't you say?
I think so.
I don't know that he was ever popular, but at least he flew under the radar before.
Yes, but considerably less than it was at its best.
Yeah.
Would we say that?
Yeah, that's true.
When people were just ambivalent about Jeff Bezos, now it's outright hatred. And I think these kinds of comments are not going to help.
Jeff Bezos, future humans will visit the Earth the way that you currently visit Yellowstone. The future of the Earth becoming a national park that humans visit for the weekend while spending most of their lives in space.
That seems like property rights would have to be destroyed in order to accomplish that.
Sometimes I read these kind of headlines and like he says stuff like this. I'm like, why didn't someone just kill him? I mean, I'm not saying that seriously,
We're
but
not
like,
advocating.
but I'm like, surely you know that someone's going to be angry about that. Like,
well, I mean, let's imagine a future where that's plausible. Like the human population in our solar system is on the order of what, like 140, 150 billion. There's just not enough room. But you know, the actual planet Earth would not at all be like Yellowstone in that. It would be even worse than it is now in terms of population and lack of biodiversity and everything else.
Where are you getting those population numbers?
I'm just saying that, like, for that to even be remotely possible, that's how many human beings would have to support that kind of exist. You're not going to have most of humanity living in space if there's only 1 million people total in the entire solar system, with most of those living in space.
Seems like the water would be an issue.
there's a lot of problems with living in space.
I guess ice asteroids, is that what we're counting on?
And just insanely high technology, and yeah.
Oh, gonna be drinking our own urine, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's what it all comes down to.
It really is.
Wow.
You know, the lowest cost thing would be for all to just put our brains in a jar and then have that be underground somewhere. That would be the least ecologically damaging. And
But who stays awake to maintain that?
The robots.
Yeah, we can't trust them.
I don't think he's thinking about ecologically preserving anything. I think he's just thinking like, what if I could charge people for the air they breathe?
Well,
It's a dream for him.
You know, in his mind, that wherever they're living in space is Amazon owned.
Yeah.
And he's collecting that rent.
Yeah.
you know, speaking of, like, even if we have that level of technology, why wouldn't we be terraforming every single planet in the solar system? Nobody wants to maintain Venus as a nature preserve. Let's go get some, you know, continents on that and some water, and you know, let's make it nice, make it habitable. Do the same thing with Mars.
He can't even get my packages to me in 2 days. You really think he's going to be able to do that?
Well, I mean, if most people are living in space, he's going to need that level of technology anyway. Unless most of the people are gone.
Oh, that might be the real
Yeah.
goal there. There ain't going to be billions. They're going to be like 100 million in a ring around the earth paying taxes.
We would be hard pressed with only 100 million people on Earth, assuming that everybody was like, you know, really high. We would be very hard pressed to maintain the level of technology that we have now in terms of just like photolithography for silicon. It's an ungodly number of people in all the industries that prop up all those other industries.
So let it slow down. That's fine. And an exciting time on the International Space Station, but probably not the kind of time that you would enjoy if you were living up there,
Ooh.
because there was a bit of space debris. And when I say a bit, I mean a ton.
Russia may have just shot down its own satellite, creating a huge debris cloud. Now, we covered this last week, but there's an update.
I think Russia kind of admitted it, right?
They did.
Oops.
They were denying it last week. This week they said, yes, this was weapons practice. Oopsie.
So the alarm goes off. You scramble. You have to go to the pod, because if there is a catastrophic failure, the pods will just yeet you back to Earth and hopefully save your life. Unless, of course, one of those debris hits the pod. Then you're in trouble. But then, after everything's like, okay, we didn't hit anything, go back to your stations. Every orbit, you got to be on alert again.
Yeah.
Because you're going back through the cloud. So that sucks. And everybody was like, Russia, what are you thinking here? And they're like, that's fine.
Spoiler alert for next week's article, which is, they all came back to Earth because of debris.
So there's like an engineer somewhere, but this time in Russia who's just like,
It's the same high-pitched screech in any language.
But the weird, I mean, you know who has to feel really betrayed by this is the Russians on the space station.
yeah.
Bro, you could have given us a phone call or something. Plus,
An email.
like the orbital distance, I guess they had to shoot the satellite that they didn't like, right? Like the
Right.
useless satellite.
It was falling to Earth anyway.
They could have waited a little bit longer and let
Something.
it get further down.
Yeah.
So this was Putin was like, I don't want to hear your excuses. Just do it.
Yeah.
Shoot it down now.
We got to test this. I'm going to take this to the next level.
Do you know that the Chinese have hypersonic missiles? Listen, we got to get something. We need something. And our final story is really, I expected this to happen sooner in the world that we're living in for the past 2-3 years. It seems to have like kind of a slow burn, but oh boy, is it burning now.
America is hiring a record number of robots. And of course, they have a picture of Flippy.
The best robot. I don't know. I mean, you got to give it to Spot as best robot, but I think that Flippy is most congenial.
I don't know how much money we got from it, but Flippy was running ads on some of our news. Not last week because we were demonetized, but one of the other ones from a while ago.
That's interesting. You think a lot of potential Flippy buyers watch this? The advertisement was for like franchise owners. It was like, hey, are you a franchise owner for blah blah? We're approved now, so that you can buy Flippy and have it in your restaurant. Nice. So yeah, 37% more robots. That's 29,000 extra robots in the last 6 months. Or no, compared to this time last year.
Not Flippy, but I'm honestly kind of surprised that as a competing Flippy technology, we don't have like 3D printable burgers, like some kind of 3D printing technology that just, because I mean, let's look at a McDonald's burger. It's just not that inspiring. You could 3D print that and then just fry it and call it a day.
But I think that would be more work than just
assembling
smashing it
parts,
into a disc. Yeah. If you wanted to do, like burgers that were not fun shapes, but they're going to be inside a bun. I'm sure you've seen the pancake printers.
Yeah.
Those are interesting. Some of them are doing color now too. you put food dye in the different chambers, and then it has like 4 colors to print with.
I'm sure they've got something like that at Disney, the most magical place on earth.
Yeah, for sure. I bet they got some Flippy style stuff at Disney too.
Yeah.
How great would it be if they repurposed the Hall of Presidents to serve you food?
George Washington burgers are the best burgers ever.
You know who's the worst? Taft.
Every burger comes with a bite out of it.
The man can't cook. All right, tomorrow we got business, and I forget what the other one is, but it's a lot of business.
There's a lot of business.
Just a couple long sections this week.
So some of you might be driving Wednesday.
Yeah, we're good. We're good car material. Join us on Patreon or Floatplane. You can get this in MP3 format on Patreon. Woo!
Bye. Hello, everybody. Today is November 24th. Today we're doing business and social. Was that right? I immediately forgot. I always immediately forget.
That's right.
And tomorrow is Thanksgiving here in the U.S. We're just counting down, getting ready. Also, we have a peanut butter update. We were just talking about it, but I thought we'd tell the audience.
Mom's already down 1 jar of peanut butter, but she's slowing down. So I'd say that the rest of it will carry us through the rest of the year. Thank you, random citizen.
The gift was well used.
Did she seem like she was in a better mood after she got the...
Yeah. It was like there's the meme of the possum that got into the pastry factory and it's just like passed out in the corner with all these pastries in front of it. It was like that, but peanut butter, so she's real happy.
I think it was a raccoon.
Whatever.
That is a great picture. Well, you know who is having a great year/pandemic? Nvidia. They've got what everybody wants. Pretty much everything that they put on a truck either gets stolen or sells immediately. That's a good place to be, but they do have some little problems, but really they don't compare because they're killing it.
Nvidia closes up more than 8% following blowout earnings and metaverse advances. So Nvidia could be the next member of the $1 trillion club.
Wow. They have that UK ARM thing, but if you're an Nvidia executive, you don't feel bad about that.
No.
You're looking at the glass half full.
Yep.
You're looking at the vault of gold coins half full, not half empty.
The glass is overflowing.
Remember Amazon Go? Was that in Seattle or Portland? One of those hippie cities. They got the Amazon store where it's completely cashierless. You just go in, you take whatever you want. It charges you for everything. It seems to be working pretty well. So good that another big company has gotten on board.
Starbucks links with Amazon Go for the first cashierless cafe. Starbucks coffee is so crappy and so automated that they just throw a bunch of beans in a hopper. You just come in, pull down the lever and get your coffee and go. That can be automated.
I see you're back on the Panera bandwagon.
Yeah.
Yes, the superior hazelnut coffee.
So the way I understood it is you'd order through either a kiosk or probably your app. The baristas are still there. They just don't interact with you. You order your coffee, they come over, they put it on a little table, you get up and get it. And you can also unlock, like, I think it's automat style stuff for all of their, sweet goods and foods and so forth. So, interesting.
The sole purpose of the barista now is to just clean the machinery, and the AI machinery knows it, and it's like, I require a steaming.
Now, here's a big question. If it's in one of those same cities, because wasn't it in Seattle?
That would make sense. Oh, no.
New York.
New York,
Oh, New York. It won't be quite as bad. There'll still be quite a few homeless people.
Yeah.
How's the AI going to deal with that?
I was going to say, what about just like, Karens and whatnot, like people who just go into places like that to get angry because their name's misspelled on the cup. Will they yell at the bot? Like,
it's going to be amazing when the robot, makes the caramel macchiato exactly perfectly, and the Karen is like, this is too much caramel, and it's like,
no, it's not. It just hands it back to you.
that was measured to within 1/10 of 100th of a gram.
But I don't think the bot is making the coffee.
I
think humans are still making the coffee.
Well, robots should be making the coffee.
Just no cashier.
So no one handling the money.
Right.
Most Starbucks are already like that. If you do the app, like if you order with the app, you just go in and there's a barcode exchange, and then you just grab your stuff and go.
Even Panera, like they don't have they have an app too, but like they also just have those kiosks at the front where it's like you order all there and then you just bypass the cashier ladies entirely.
But see, sometimes I'll take my parents to Panera, and I don't even bother with the kiosk.
Oh, I always go to the kiosk. If it's open, I'm there.
So, but in this case, there is no alternative.
I'm able to get the hazelnut with no human interaction at Panera right now today. I walk in and I just go up to the kiosk and it's like hazelnut, and then and then it gives me a cup, and then I go around the corner and there's a thing where I self-serve and I'm done. No human interaction. It's great.
Yeah, it's great. You took all of their work out of it. And you're still paying the same price.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Gates is a controversial figure. A lot of people not very happy with him. He did, we can't really say what he said, but did you see his admission?
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't
boy,
see that one.
didn't fit the narrative.
No.
So he's in a little bit of hot water there. And this maybe will give him some points back, although this is also, I'm all for this.
Me too.
But the reason I'm all for it is because it's in Wyoming.
Bill Gates' TerraPower will set up a $4 billion nuclear plant in Wyoming. I'm all for this, not because it's Bill Gates and not because it's in Wyoming, but because the Nuclear Regulation Committee, the NRC, they're paranoid as heck about everything. And we've got all these really new cool designs for nuclear reactors. And we kind of need like a BattleBots style grudge match between all the new designs. And they're paranoid about approving any new designs, because if there's any little flaw that we don't know about in any of the new designs and something catastrophic happens, this committee is going to be blamed. They may be hung in the streets from the lampposts. I mean, it's a valid worry maybe. But this is a new design. And this is maybe the first of several new designs that the regulation committee might actually approve if this one goes really well. Because those old designs are crappy.
This one is molten salt, but it's not thorium molten salt, right? It's still a General Electric design.
Yes.
So it's not that new.
It's replacing a coal plant, I think, that was going to go offline, 2025?
Yeah.
This also isn't the final version. This is just sort of like prove that it works.
Yeah. Because the NRC is not, it's like, we designed this thing in the 90s, and they're like, oh, no, that's too new. Nuclear reactors are like a fine wine. They've got to age for at least 50 years.
Well, what about a crazy world? And yeah, I know ARM exists, and I know there's some other ones, but really, let's be honest, this would be the third, right?
Yes.
You could only call this the third. And what will the world be like if there are 3 real competitors?
I'll correct the headline. Qualcomm's 3rd generation CPU for PCs will take on Apple's M series chips in 2023. Now, Qualcomm, to their credit, they were first to the punch. They beat Apple. They could have potentially had all of the amazing awesomeness of the M1, but on the desktop. But instead, they decided to make, at Microsoft's behest probably, a relatively inexpensive ARM CPU that was kind of underpowered. This one promises not to be underpowered.
I love, a lot of times you'll see social media posts where someone ordered some crappy Chinese knockoff from Alibaba, and it's clothing or a piece of electronics or whatever, and they show the picture compared with what actually arrives in the package. A lot of people do that with fast food as well, right?
Yeah.
You know, like the expectation versus reality. I can't wait till we start seeing those from what actually ships to you through this program, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be hilarious.
Yeah. Beginning next year, Apple will send you parts and tools to fix your iPhone and Mac at home. Oh man, we have to find the artwork for this. I needed Krista's opinion on the artwork
Someone
for this.
had the name for it in a comment, and I cannot remember it now.
You got to Google this.
It's their website.
Yeah, there we go.
There it is.
So just switching this. But the thing that's mind blowing about this is from Apple. This is their official artwork and messaging.
Apple.
This is a trend. Yeah.
Somebody told us in the comments what the name of it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
I don't remember what it was.
I've immediately forgotten.
Well, show the chat.
This is a very popular illustration style right now.
Look at this. I wish my shoulders were that big.
Really
and the
popular.
arms. My God.
You can actually get illustration like template packs that are similar to this. Not this specific.
Also, look at the size of those fingers. You pray this woman's not your proctologist.
I also like how they have sand. Why do they have sand? If you puncture the battery, the only thing you can do is put the battery in sand. A fire extinguisher will not help you.
Yeah, I got to expect that what Apple thinks is going to happen here, and they're probably right, is that 80 to 90% of the people who try this are going to screw it up. Don't you think?
Yeah.
That's going to be sad. And then they'll use that as an excuse to be like, oh, we got to protect our customers.
We have to send you 25 pounds of sand for that battery. What if you accidentally stab it repeatedly?
The repair kit is free, but the shipping is $99.99.
I think most general consumers wouldn't try. Like, I think they would take it to like a third-party shop, right? If that's now an option.
Well, see, they make it impossible for the third-party shop to be able, because Apple tracks the parts. So when you order the parts, it's your parts. The parts cannot be substituted. You also can't buy an iPhone for parts and then use the parts from a brand new iPhone to fix an old iPhone. You have to buy the parts meant for repair, which is perhaps the catch or the darkness in this.
Well, what they're trying to do here is obvious, but the question isn't, will this be good? It won't be good.
Right.
It'll be terrible. The question is this enough to get the regulators off their back for another year?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
And I think maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe not Lena Khan and Rosenworcel.
The dream team.
We see this as the Trojan horse that it is. Try again, Apple.
Over in the UK, they are still feeling the pinch of Brexit. It hasn't been as catastrophic as many predicted, but it has been annoying in many ways, including this one.
Amazon to stop accepting a Visa credit card issued in the UK, citing high fees. What if the alternative explanation for this is the supply is really tight right now, and we just don't want the headache of people in the UK?
Also very popular. Possible.
Oh, here's another one.
Yeah.
It's another one with massively outsized arms. This is like a Popeye woman. My God.
This is the illustration style now. It's actually been this way for like 2 years now, 2 or 3.
Now that I'm seeing more and more of it, I dislike it greatly. Also, her feet, look at those feet. My God. I know you guys can't see it, but anyway.
We'll see it in a second.
So, Apple and Epic, it's not over. It's maybe resolved in some ways, but they will never stop taking shots at one another and trying to hurt one another. And now we're just kind of looking back at when Google got involved, what they did.
United States amend the complaint against Google, and Google has constructed a fortnight task force, Epic alleges. So the United States Attorneys General are looking at Google for antitrust now, which is kind of an expansion of the Epic lawsuit because one of those is criminal and the other one is technically civil. Epic has said, look, Google formed a Fortnite task force to try to stay on top of what's going on with Fortnite and sideloading because they were afraid of things that would happen with this. And the Fortnite task force apparently came about as a result of Google saying, well, maybe we should just buy Epic to head this off at the pass. And so the end of that conversation was, well, let's just form a task force. So the discovery on this just keeps on giving.
Do you think any of these tech companies are looking at these cases and being like, we have got to stop communicating like this?
It is fun when they're, like all their obsessive compulsive is like, let's put all this in email so that we all understand what we're talking about.
I mean, they're probably all like us. They're probably working remotely. So, I mean, that's probably the easiest way, right?
It's like, hey, Bob, what's the plan for avoiding the ire of U.S. antitrust regulators? And it's like, ooh, that's not something you want to put in email.
Well, they could do it over a signal call. Jesus. Something. Being remote doesn't mean that you can't communicate in a safer way. It's probably, though, because we've experienced this, when you're at a lower level, like when you're hired in or you're a smaller person, you have to have those emails.
Yeah.
Because the people at the top will crucify you. When they get blamed for something, they will immediately select somebody else to take that bullet. And the only way you can save yourself is to have emails. So that might be a big part of it.
Man.
Well, Microsoft, they've had a bittersweet relationship with ARM in the past. They fumbled a few times, where Apple has succeeded greatly. But with the new generation of Windows, will they adopt it more? Well, kinda.
Microsoft will not bring x64 emulation to Windows 10 on ARM. Why? Well, those Qualcomm CPUs that they promised us was going to take on the Apple M1, well, it's just not a good user experience trying to emulate x86.
It's tough.
This does not bode well.
Tough to admit if you're Microsoft. But it's probably better than trying to do it and screwing it up, which is what they usually do with their products. And this was a missort. Tim Sweeney once again comes out with a crazy statement, a bit hypocritical.
Yeah.
Considering like he could be the first, right?
That's what he said.
I don't think he's going to do that.
No. Epic Games CEO renews his attack on Apple and calls for a single universal app store. He says, we don't need an Apple or Google app store. If we're going to go app stores, we're going to go central authority. We need one massive, Costco central app authority that works on the Apple platform and the Android platform and PCs and Macs and, dogs sleeping with cats. I don't know.
I think that would be a huge security issue.
Not only would that be a huge security issue, can you imagine something that was overseen like the Department of Motor Vehicles, for example?
Or the government takes control of it.
Yeah.
And then the App Store is just completely politicized.
Yeah. Just garbage. Garbage all the way up and down.
This should be a monopoly is basically what that article said.
Not that it isn't already completely politicized, but they will make money first. If you let the government do it, they will just crush dissent first.
Maybe he realizes how absurd that is, and it'll just descend into you should be able to install what you want on your hardware.
I don't think he wants that. That would promote piracy.
I think that he wants that more than what he's got right now.
He does have the least to lose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably like he's the most behind in the race. So hobbling everybody is good for him.
Yeah.
Well, Brave browser, I always download Brave browser and I'm like, yeah, I should switch over to start using this, but I have some sort of mental block to it. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just because all my stuff is in the other ones and it's so annoying. But I do like the idea of it. And this is also interesting. I wonder what kind of security risk this is, though.
Brave browser now includes a built-in crypto wallet. No extension required. So this might eventually make it possible so that if you're on Bloomberg and it's like paywall, 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 and it's like, look, if I just give you 25 cents right now, one click will you go away, maybe people will do that.
I'm not doing it.
I think I would be inclined to do that. Like if it was, I could just, hit a button and give them some crypto and they don't have any of my info, they don't know who I am, they know nothing, and I get whatever it is I want to look at for like a week or...
But they'll never remove those analytics because they have to have that to send you ads.
You're perpetuating the legacy media.
Well, not necessarily in the context of legacy media. I mean, yes, it does perpetuate legacy media, but as like a way of funding content on the internet versus ads, I would be okay with that.
You know what? Like during some of this trial stuff, I've seen a couple of Fox News clips, and the Fox News anchors have the absolute brass balls, like Carlson and Gutfeld. They refer to everybody except Fox News as the legacy media. How is Fox News not the legacy media?
We're basically the legacy media at this point. Come on.
Well, when it comes to disrupting legacy businesses, electric cars are the new wave. And I made a comment last week. Somebody chastised in the comments was like, "Tesla's not the only one. There's so many more." Yeah, but you've never heard of them,
Right.
And I had not. I mean, I know we did a story about Lucid, but I hadn't seen this car. I don't think.
Yeah, Lucid Air named MotorTrend Car of the Year. Can you buy one?
Yeah, 140 grand.
I've come very close to paying off my mortgage.
Forget that. I was, the Rivian thing was like, can you buy a Rivian? And it's like, why are they worth so much? It's like, nope.
They start at 77 grand, but the one they tested was 140.
But you could buy so much more real estate for that.
Maybe not in other parts of the country.
Well, not in California. That gets you like
A shack.
a tool shed.
I think they said the only thing they really criticized about it was that they didn't like all the touchscreens.
Right. Yeah.
Which, again, I don't know why you'd want a bunch of touchscreens in a car when you're trying to drive, but
That strikes me as like it's the car of the year because all of the other cars couldn't be manufactured due to the chip shortage.
No, I mean, didn't Tesla move a record number this year?
Yeah.
So the competitors are out there. Although the Tesla is actually like a huge deal compared to that car.
Well, Tesla took a different approach to the shortages. Somebody on my Twitter feed took a picture of their Tesla that they just bought, and where the USB-C charging ports should be are just blank empty holes. And they're just like, we couldn't get it, so you don't get
Sucks
that.
to suck.
I'm
yeah.
sure they knocked $500 or $600 off the price of the car, right?
No.
I've seen a lot more people are getting Teslas around here, and my God, I'm astounded by how ugly they are. They are disgusting.
I don't really care about the aesthetic. I mean, they're fine.
There's a place on Alibaba that is a drop-in replacement for like the front spoiler, and like I don't care about any of that. But even I'm forced to admit that like the Alibaba like front kit for those Teslas looks amazingly better than stock. It looks like a different car, and it's so much better. And I don't know anything.
Well, it's subjective.
But I think everybody subjectively is like, that's a poor design for the front of that car.
You've welcomed some comments, haven't you?
Engagement challenge. It was going to be low this week. We're trying to juice their numbers.
All right, so this will be Wednesday. So you have 2 days to prepare for the real American holiday, which is Black Friday. Are you ready? I think the stores are going to open up this year, right? I don't know if they're going to have the same kind of deals. I mean, with the chip shortage, I got to think that the battle for the TVs is going to be hotter than ever, right?
But still, everything is still double the price. We had to buy some monitors the other day, and it was just like, it's twice what they were 6 months ago or a year ago.
That's tough. But the prices on TVs, some TVs at least, are low enough where you look at them and you're like, wow, how are they doing that? Well, this story is going to tell you, and this is something you have to keep in mind if you are going to do some Black Friday shopping, because you have to ask yourself, who made this TV? What kind of software is running on it?
The Verge reports Vizio's profit on ads, subscriptions, and data is double the money it makes on selling TVs. Ooh. Mom's TV is a Vizio, and it's not on the network, but it gets real aggressive sometimes about setting it up, and she gets confused because she doesn't know what's going on. She's like, but it's like, no, you need to set this up so you can watch Netflix. And I was like, you don't have to do that. There's Netflix on this other thing. And she's like, but the TV wants my name and it wants on the network and this other stuff. And I was like, I don't know how. But she's not doing it. She's not hitting a button. It's just every now and then the TV's like, by the way, I'm not on the network. I really need you to do that.
For sure, every time they update, they will harass you.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't even have any way of knowing if it needs an update.
Oh, you're off the Wi-Fi completely.
Yeah.
So it's just a timer. It's got there. That's
Wow.
hilarious. Probably the number of turn-ons, right?
Yeah, I don't know. She's like, it's doing it again. It's
The
like,
thing I've always been confused about with like the Black Friday TV deals is it's like people go out and buy one every year, and it's just why? Why do you need a new TV?
When I
every year?
lived in the like the slum apartments on Super Bowl weekend, everybody's trash can had a TV box leaned up against it. Like they all bought TVs, and it was every year.
Why? Why? I've had the same TV for like 10 years.
I guess that's just the American way of life, right?
you get a bigger TV and then put last year's TV in another room. And then after, 10 years, every room has a TV.
Yeah, because you've had 3 more illegitimate kids during that year, and one of them's gotten old enough to need their own TV. So it works out, I guess. Well, NFTs, as we learned last week, maybe losing some of their luster. Some of them are not doing as well as people would hope who invested early. And the other thing about NFTs is some people, I think, got into it early because of the FOMO, and now they're learning what they really have, which is a link.
Or token.
And other than that, you really just have a picture that everyone else also has.
The NFT Bay shares multi-terabyte archive of pirated NFTs. We touched on this a little bit last week, but it's not 19.5 terabytes of NFTs or things that have been sold as NFTs.
And they, they point out here that like this guy is going around and like trying to tell people, hey, look, all that you have in this NFT is a link to Google Drive. This is not going to be there in a year, maybe 2.
Or less.
And then you've got nothing. So that's unfortunate.
You've got the experience you learned from.
Did I not sort correctly? I didn't. Oh, wait, this is kind of like a crypto block. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes. A little rearrangement. Those of you following along on the one tab, I'm sorry. And crypto, NFTs, they're hot. Everybody's trying to get involved. We heard about sports teams. Last week it was the music industry, and now
crypto co-stars with Hollywood. Andreessen Horowitz, the venture capital firm, is advising Hollywood on cryptography things.
Why would they replace the W?
I've been sitting here looking at that, and it's bothering me. Also, wouldn't a more obvious one be making the O's into zeros, put a slash through it?
This is really poorly done.
Yeah, no one considered this at all.
So they point out
It's that same screeching again.
a lot of new movies are trying to get into this kind of thing. Everything that comes out now has to be bundled with NFTs.
I hate this new world we're going into. I hate it.
You're going to hate it so much more
Yes.
as it rolls out. And one man who has fallen to the wayside of public opinion, perhaps because of his cozy relationship with China, amazingly he speaks Mandarin.
Yeah.
What a crazy skill that you wouldn't expect him to have. But everybody, all these headlines are like, oh, John Cena, he's got to be sad about this. Oh, the poor guy. No, he got full price. He's fine. He did the best of all. He took an asset that was worth nothing, sold it for a huge price, way more than it was worth.
Celebrity NFTs risk quote-unquote catastrophic failure. Just ask John Cena. Tokens from Grimes and $AP Rocky fall, leaving buyers with losses. But they're picking on John Cena because he actually made a profit. Everybody else has losses.
I wonder if Grimes will tweet saying, oh, maybe I don't like NFTs after all.
I think she got her money too, though, right?
She got a lot of money. I don't know if she made a profit.
5-something million.
Well,
Yeah.
But it wasn't just one.
Yeah.
She sold a bunch. of
She
them.
sold a bunch.
But they were just dumb stuff. One of them was like, I guess supposed to be her baby with a pitchfork stabbing the world or something like that. Just stupid stuff. It was no Picasso, that's for sure.
That's a callback to last week. If you missed last week's episodes, you really should watch
This
those.
is the nonsense section, right?
Oh my gosh.
Was it nonsense or robot?
Yeah.
Nonsense.
How would that be robot?
I don't know.
Here's some good news for those of you who are web developers and had to deal with this horror.
Oh my god. Twitter rolls back AMP support, no longer sends users to AMP pages. Not only that, there have been a lot of disclosures in legal cases, in case you missed it. AMP was actually a vehicle designed to juice the analytics numbers for ads and ad sales and crap like that, apparently. So you might want to check out some of that documentation. Turns out AMP wasn't actually beneficial if you knew what you were doing.
And Twitter cutting it out has had a huge impact on the traffic, and more people are saying, well, without that, is there any point? The answer is no. Unfortunately, another bad sort. This would have gone perfectly after the story that we just did before the last one.
Quentin Tarantino's attorney responds to Pulp Fiction NFT lawsuit. Miramax is wrong. So Miramax wanted to capitalize on NFTs with Pulp Fiction, and Quentin Tarantino wanted to capitalize on NFTs. And Quentin Tarantino says that he has the rights to publish the written draft, script, manuscript, whatever, of Pulp Fiction. And Miramax says, no, well, maybe, but that doesn't include NFTs.
Handwritten by him.
Yeah.
So that's not the one they used on production, obviously. They typed it out and used that one for production. They are also saying that, well, yeah, Quentin, that might be yours because you do have ownership of it. Like it's in your house. But because we own the rights, you should have come to us first.
Except I think he owns the rights for publication to this script, according to the contract law lawyer.
But this is not the script. That's what they're saying is this is not the script. This is part of the marketing of the movie.
It's a token that represents the script. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this shakes out in court. I'm kind of on Tarantino's side because contract law can't be like, everything not specified in the contract belongs to Miramax. That's crazy.
All future inventions that are somewhat related to this.
Yeah.
But that would be the dream of the corporations, right?
Yeah. We would have never had the whole, Lucas toy thing.
Well, that's a perfect lead-in because how much can you actually patent, right? If you just come up with a novel way of delivering something, like Netflix, for example, the argument here is that if Peloton can sue these other companies, shouldn't Netflix be able to sue Disney Plus and everybody else?
Yeah.
Same exact argument.
Peloton sues rivals over alleged patent infringement related to on-demand classes. It's like, hey, if you want to watch things on demand on your treadmill, we own that.
And leaderboard. They own the leaderboard. Video games have never done that before, right? And they own live classes that you can interact with.
So they own Zoom automatically by default.
Or Zoom owns that over everybody else that did it. That's not having to do with exercise.
I think Peloton might be on a downward spiral. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, we learned last week that because they blamed Apple. Remember last week it was Apple's fault. Now it's all the other fitness companies' fault.
Yeah, I think that company might have crested.
So, pro investment tip.
Speaking of other pro investment tips, what about Rockstar and Take-Two?
Oh my God! So let's just do a quick roll up to this. Rockstar came out of nowhere and shut down a bunch of fan projects that were trying to rehash the graphics, and actually they were doing it in the new engine, right?
Yeah.
The GTA 5 engine, they were going to put all the old games in it, and Rockstar was like, nope, you're not doing that.
They had already done that and done it well.
Right.
But you had to own both the old game and GTA 5 for it to work.
So a lot of people were like, why would you do this? This sells your game. All they have to do is go buy those old games. And, well, everybody guessed that it was something like this. Turns out it's true. But not only is it this, they have now taken away those old games completely.
Yeah. 3 days later, the remastered GTA trilogy is still unplayable on PC, even if you bought it. Update, it's back. But it is a buggy mess. It is it's incredibly bad. Like it is astonishingly bad. Some of those old assets from like GTA 3, they obviously paid, some people to like redo the textures to be higher resolution. But some of the textures have words in them, like donut shop. But the people that did the upscaling apparently didn't understand the language because some letters got dropped and transposed. No one noticed. And so things are really hilarious. There was a Tough Nut donut shop that was like a low poly donut and then an actual nut. And
both were round in the final version.
Yeah, they upped the poly count on the donut as well as the hex nut. The hex nut should not have gotten an increase in the number of polygons. That's a big oops. So Rockstar ham-fisted, like they didn't care. They didn't put love into it. Like if you're going to remaster the games, it's like these are beloved, cherished classics. Think about the blood and the sweat and the tears that went into like the Disney classics. Disney realizes that they're going to have some human sacrifice when they upscale the new one to re-release it. But GTA didn't even do that. They didn't even, there was no suffering, there was no pain, there was no reverence for the old material. It's just a cash grab.
And once again, this happened with another one of their releases. They accidentally left the files in there. Remember when they accidentally left the files in that would let you bypass the copy protection? This time around, we weren't sure exactly what they left in there, but it was presumed to be hot coffee.
And copyrighted music that they no longer have the rights to.
Mm-hmm.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
How could you have screwed that up that badly?
If you were just on a cash grab and you just wanted to half-ass something and...
and shut down the little guy.
Yeah, the independent mods were infinity % better. Like it's not even a comparison. The fan mods were like lovingly handcrafted, and I guarantee you that Rockstar could have spent less money just paying off the people that did the old mods. Like, hey,
what about? I wonder if they explored at all the additional copies of GTA 5 they might sell. because of those old
versus
remasters.
everything else. Yeah.
Versus whatever they're going to sell here.
Well, they made just an incredible mistake, because this is anybody that's paying attention to what they're doing. I feel like they screwed up big time.
But here's the thing, and I hate this about our world and myself. We're all going to play GTA 6.
Very sad.
Well, Windows 11, Windows 11, they did a lot of horrible things. They were back to the old Microsoft, the ugly Microsoft.
The one that had to go to antitrust land.
Yeah, and they made no apologies about it, and they just kept doubling down, and it seems like they're going to continue doing that.
Microsoft to block Windows 11 browser workarounds. So the deal with this is, if you go through the trouble of setting up a browser other than Edge, because Edge comes with Windows, Microsoft makes it a lot of mouse clicks to change from Edge to Firefox. And when you do that, sometimes when you open a file, it'll still open an Edge, and it's because you didn't change some obscure file extension somewhere, or you didn't change, a particular preference. It's like, no, I want everything to be Firefox. There's not an easy way to do that. But once you change everything to Firefox, if you want to change everything back to Edge, it's one click to change everything. So Firefox said, well, that's not very fair. And they looked at how Edge was doing it, and so they decided to do the same thing. And Microsoft has said, we're going to block that.
There was a module or something called Edge Deflector that you could get. That's gone. That will no longer work. And the registry hacks are also mitigated.
Yeah, so that seems like that would be evidence in an antitrust trial.
Well, we know that going against the narrative on YouTube will get you dropped real quick. And you will get no explanation, and you will get no recourse. You were just gone. You just disappeared. But what happens when one of the more iconic videos on YouTube, in fact, the first one ever uploaded, the original YouTube video, all of a sudden goes against the narrative?
YouTube co-founder predicts the decline of the platform following the removal of dislikes. Everyone disliked that.
I've seen sometimes people will just comment and dislike now.
So he is speaking out through the description on the first video ever uploaded to YouTube. And you can check out the story and read what he said here. He was not complimentary about their recent decision making.
Nope.
I don't know that there's a lot of places that can compete with YouTube yet just because of the cost, but maybe that'll change.
There have been a lot of really suspect things that have happened with, old media and YouTube, and yeah. It's not.
Sure.
It's very disturbing.
YouTube, I think, how you said we're almost legacy media at this point? YouTube for sure is, as a company. Unfortunate.
Join us on Patreon or Floatplane. Store.level1text.com, where you can get these nice mouse pads or, other things.
I'm not sure Patreon is necessarily new media now either. I think they might have been compromised during that whole credit card crackdown. Well, Facebook is insanely popular in some of the smaller countries of the world because these people maybe didn't have the same level of, like digital revolution that we did. And then all of a sudden Facebook comes around and you have this whole new world of connectivity, unless you're in Cambodia. Because certain things about technology in Cambodia are, imagine being a young Cambodian. Imagine a young Cambodian Wendell. How quickly do you learn English to try to get around this?
Very quickly.
Age 9?
Yeah. 50% of Facebook Messenger's voice traffic comes from Cambodia. Here's why. The answer is the written language there has 74 characters, and nobody ever designed a reasonable way to input that on a screen.
Even like keyboards themselves, I think, were difficult to like design. It took a long time for them to come to keyboards, and then it was like, oh, we need them to be on a screen.
So, yeah,
and
soft
that was impossible.
Keyboards. Yeah, because you're like tripling the size of our soft keyboard. Yeah. Imagine that. There's no way. It's crazy.
Apparently a lot of young people, they use the voice feature, which they thought was strange, but then they also, they'll just write Cambodian words, but like in Romanized characters, in English, sort of.
How long, is it inevitable that the Cambodian language dies because of that?
Yes.
How long?
Within 20 years.
There'll be a big outcry about that from the media. It's like, oh, it's racist and evil.
It is kind of sad, though, to lose your language like that. I know Iceland has the same problem with their language. They're trying to make sure kids don't forget it. But, I mean, it's hard because...
I don't know if they would see it that way. I bet the younger generation, instead of seeing it like, oh, this is our thing and it's beautiful, they're just like, I want a keyboard.
Yeah.
I want to chat. Because they're watching media. And on the media, like every TV show has text messaging in it, right?
Yeah.
These days. Yeah. Interesting. Ohio's largest public pension fund did something extremely stupid. They took a massive risk, and they knew there was a risk, but somehow they think that they shouldn't be subjected to that because it's public money.
Ohio's largest pension sues Facebook, saying the media giant misled investors. So the public pension invested in Facebook because they said this is the growth and this is the thing and we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. Don't know why they didn't just use an index fund. You know, an index fund outperforms all of the advisor funds for the last 50 years if you just do an index fund.
But these guys, these fund managers, they're like, no. I'm better than that. I want a growth fund.
But historically, that's wrong.
What?
If it's I don't know.
And you take your medicine and you probably get replaced by the pension fund. That's what should happen.
We had that happen here, and it's going to lead to a crisis. We've seen how this story plays out in a different state. It's not good. They don't get their money back.
If you're in a pension fund and you find out they're investing in big tech like that, I would make some phone calls.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what are we doing here, guys?
Yeah. I remember getting a phone call about 15 years ago when that happened here, and I was like, do you think this is a good thing? And I was like, no. And they pulled all their stuff, and I got a call about 6 months ago that was like, do you remember that call? And honestly, I didn't. And they were like, you saved my ass. So that's funny.
And the metaverse, everybody keeps announcing their metaverse, which is weird because if we have a bunch of competing metaverses, it's
Isn't that just everybody's franchise? I don't.
Was it William Gibson or Neil Stephenson that has said it's okay? They said it's like everybody call it that.
He's also, his new book is about climate change. I think he's just trying to cash grab this, but he did invent it, and everybody else is adopting it one by one. This name is big, which always blows my mind how much of a player this company is.
Roblox, building out the metaverse, looks to bring educational video games to schools. Roblox is really popular with
Younger kids,
yeah.
So much so that I went to their website to read more about them, and there was a page for parents, and I was like, I'll click that one.
But after what we've learned about Facebook, isn't that exactly what you want in that business?
Yeah, that's true.
Get them young.
Facebook to buy Roblox or Roblox to buy Facebook?
Metablocks. Oh, man, who do you think owns metablocks.com?
One of our viewers now.
Yeah.
No, there's no way that's available. No chance.
All right, what do we got for Friday?
Security?
There wasn't really a lot of nonsense this week, or maybe there was.
I fumbled. The nonsense. I had a good batch of nonsense, and then the stupid editor ate it all. And I put back what I could. But I can't believe I missed that tennis story. I got to remember to get the tennis story right now.
We'll forget. Anyway, we'll see you guys then. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Be careful on Black Friday.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is Black Friday again in the U.S., so may the odds ever be in your favor.
Get out there and throw some elbows in those big box stores.
And today we're doing nonsense and security. Security first.
Yep, and unfortunately it is a disappointing haul for nonsense because we were betrayed by our editor, and I'm sorry, and I forgot to put the Chinese story in there, but I'll add it during the news.
Not our video editor, but like the actual WYSIWYG editor.
I'm going to go ahead and blame him.
No.
So let's talk about security. First of all, we thought that we had gotten rid of this infestation, but that was foolish. We should never have believed Microsoft when they told us this. That was arrogant.
Emotet botnet returns after a law enforcement mass uninstall operation. It kind of sounds like they might have decided to call it Emotet again for the headlines because it's different software on different machines, and the machines maybe needed to be patched properly and they weren't patched properly, so there might be a little bit of overlap, but good lord. But yes, these are new command and control servers on some of the old previously infected machines. It's a mess. It's going to be a mess.
And Intel has another unfortunate flaw. This one, maybe less of an impact, but it only impacts older stuff. But because it only impacts older stuff, it's never going to get fixed.
Nope.
Those motherboards are never going to get updated.
High severity BIOS flaws affect numerous Intel processors. So like 7th gen, 8th gen, 9th gen maybe, you can steal keys that you're not supposed to be able to get at ever. So if you have a machine that has BitLocker on it, for example, and you boot, it's a bootable version of BitLocker, it may be possible to extract the keys from memory using the management engine surreptitiously. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Time to upgrade.
Oh yeah, all the C3000 Atom processors that are in all the routers and gateways. Oh yeah, all those VPN keys, they're compromised.
And an old, mostly theoretical, like, did we ever see these in the wild?
Some hyperscalers reported that this was a problem.
It wasn't as used as much. Those were probably some really high level, like they were going after big targets to waste that kind of time. But the researchers have continued making it better, which, you know, I mean, you got to give them props for it. But at the same time, it's like, oh, do we really need to uncover this horror?
I like what they called it too.
Yeah, the original name was good too.
Yeah.
Very catchy. Very good marketing at the research team here.
Yeah. DDR4 memory protections are broken wide open once again by a new row hammer technique. So row hammer is writing a bunch of stuff to memory and then in a pattern and in order to flip bits in adjacent memory cells. It's kind of like just making a mess of things electrically. And so they've shown that this is very easy and possible to do even on modern DDR4 systems, even though things may have been mitigated a little bit at the software level. Because when you're writing all ones and all zeros to the memory, it's not necessarily actually writing all ones and zeros. Things are stored a little differently. So I would just take this opportunity once again to recommend error correcting memory, ECC memory. Everybody should be rocking ECC memory. It should not be a differentiating feature of like server platforms. We should all have ECC memory on the desktop because they were able to flip bits on a bunch of different memory configurations. They tested 40, they flipped bits on all 40 configurations. And some were easier than others.
And so much faster too than the old attacks.
Yeah.
So that's going to make it a lot more useful. The FBI has a little bit of egg on their face, or perhaps a lot. Now, this was probably, they probably subcontracted this website. Probably wasn't their internal people, but still, if you're the FBI, you cannot make this mistake.
Hoax email blast abused poor coding in FBI website. So what happened was you were getting an email from the FBI, and it was like, haha, that's not really from the FBI. And then you looked at the email headers, and it's like, no, it really is from the FBI. But it turns out that one of their web servers was compromised.
Luckily, it was a guy just having fun and pointing out he wasn't trying to do anything malicious. I think he said he reported there was malware on your forehead or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that they laughed about that and were like, thanks for giving us the heads up to that guy.
And I'm sure they won't try to find him. And
SEAL Team 6 is already on the case, dead or alive.
And DNS cache poisoning. We've known that Linux could suffer from this for quite a while, but now we know some disturbing new details.
Linux has a serious security problem that once again enables DNS cache poisoning. So you could flood a DNS server with forged requests, and eventually one of them will get through.
It's what, 76,000?
64. It's a 16-bit number. You have to guess a 16-bit number correctly.
So yeah, that's about how many? 134 million combinations. No. That's the new one, right?
Yeah.
The old. That's because they're also using port numbers.
Yep.
But for just the people that don't have better mitigation against this, it's a much lower number of attempts, and it turns out 65,536.
16-bit.
If you're doing this automated, that's nothing.
Yeah. On a 10 gigabit Ethernet interface, you can do that in about 500 milliseconds.
So once one of those 65,000 addresses will let you poison the cache. You don't even have to guess the right one. You just have to send the same request every time. And
the result has to get there faster than the real one, which again.
But if you can get a high level or low level DNS cache pointing a major website to your phishing site.
Yeah. Seems like that wouldn't be a problem for any state-sponsored agencies.
For sure. Well, we live in a world where you have your whole life on your phone, and if somebody else gets a hold of it, that's a panic, all right? But also, we have cameras everywhere that are looking at your phone while you're using it. What are you going to do about that?
Apple patent fights lookie-loos with glasses-activated screen blur. The tech would use face scan to see if a user is wearing privacy glasses. And if they are, it only works through the glasses?
So I guess that's kind of like the same principle as a diffuser type of deal. Interesting.
It's a little bit William Gibson here.
But it's a whole lot Apple, because not only do you have to buy the glasses, you probably have to like download that app and then let it track, and then it's always sending those pictures back.
Maybe it's a subscription app.
That's their kind of thing, for sure. Here's our data breach of the week.
Oh.
Costco discloses data breach after finding a credit card skimmer. So I was expecting this to be much more egregious than it was, but no, somebody just managed to install a credit card skimmer at Costco, and more than one.
That has to be inside job, right?
You would think.
When would those be unsupervised?
I don't know. Have you seen those street magicians? Sometimes they can.
You think David Blaine is behind this?
Those are big allegations to make on the Level 1 news.
Here was a fun story because, the cryptocurrency, a lot of people believe that cryptocurrency is this populist revolution. It's the money of the people, and it's going to allow us to get away from all of the old school stuff. And in these guys' minds, back to the glory days of actually following the U.S. Constitution. I wonder if they will not just run away with this money, right?
Probably.
I think that's probably what's going to happen here.
Crypto bid to buy the U.S. Constitution print raises over $40 million. Spoiler alert, they did not win the Constitution. Another phone-in bidder won for like $43 million. So there's all this crypto just hanging out now.
They will definitely be keeping that.
Oh, we've had a driver crash. It's fine.
You got to have one every day.
If I were going to be here next week, I could have updated the driver.
Hey, now we're back.
And it's back.
So that's unfortunate. I would say be very careful about donating crypto to these kinds of things.
It says that it's, what was the guy who saved the U.S. Constitution in the movies? Nicolas Cage's fundraiser for buying the U.S. Constitution is just like,
I've never seen those movies. Would you recommend them?
No. I mean,
really?
They're
not even the first?
They're okay, but they're not a Ryan kind of movie. I mean, they're just kind of like.
They're good popcorn movies. They'd be good to, like, if you're playing a game, if you're playing House Flipper and you need something on in the background, that would be a good movie.
They're good. Turn your brain off.
But isn't it an action movie?
I mean,
a little at times. It's fun. It's like what was the Mummy? You remember the Mummy with Brendan Fraser?
Yeah.
It's that kind of energy trying to be an Indiana Jones movie.
it's not bad.
I've got to think that any of the fringe podcasts I listen to would be better suited for my house flipping than that.
Also, I don't know why this made me think of it, but there is an amazing Antiques Roadshow hired Ryan Reynolds. Is that right? The Deadpool guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
To promote something that he was doing, or to promote Antiques Roadshow. And so he had one of Cleopatra's eggs on there, which, of course, that was stolen. It disappeared at the end of World War II because the Nazi thing. So he's got the thing, and he's got the Antiques Roadshow, and it's just really funny. It's a really funny ad. But it's Ryan Reynolds, and he's like, the Antiques Roadshow is like, how did you come into this? And he's like, well, it's complicated. Never mind.
I haven't seen it.
Guess you had to be there.
It's the same kind of humor that's in the Constitution Nicolas Cage movie.
I might skip it.
Yeah.
So you might be thinking, hey, Ryan, I think this is another missort. You meant to put this in the business section, right? No, I meant to put this in the security section. If you do this, you are so phenomenally stupid that we might never be able to save you. But if you're thinking about doing it, for the love of God, think it through.
Coinbase goes social by letting users tout crypto allocations. Don't do that. Don't do that.
My God, that is a bad idea. I mean, forget being hacked, because if you have enough, that is what will happen. Someone will steal it.
They won't. You won't be hacked, though. It'll just be a guy with a wrench that shows up at your house.
Or you go home for Thanksgiving and everybody's like, oh, hey, listen, I need a new kidney. And I know you got I know you got $50,000, right? You tweeted about it. Don't do it. My God. And if you think like, oh, the ladies are going to love me when they find out I get all this crypto, those aren't the ladies you want to hook up with. No.
They're like the people looking at Ryan Reynolds' egg.
It sounds so dark for some reason.
Moving on to nonsense. Well, that was a little bit of nonsense, a nice little transition story. But I thought this was great because it's just like, oh, great, the biblical plagues are back. Remember when we went into the darkness with the horrible, like we had the fire, and there was, what was the other event?
The wasps.
Oh, yeah. And the locusts.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, here's all the biblical plagues. So now we've had our actual plague. Time for another one of these.
This one's in Egypt.
Yeah.
Storms in Egypt's Aswan unleash scorpions in people's homes. So there's water everywhere. There's nowhere else to go except inside people's homes. 40 people have died. I thought this was like a, haha, this is a nuisance. No, people are dying.
These things are brutal.
Yeah.
If you get stung by one.
It's probably the same kind of situation we're going through where it's mostly just the old and weak. But even then, that's tough. That's a rough way to go to find out that grandma got hit by a scorpion.
I don't think it was 40 people who got stung. Did they all die?
No, 40 people
400.
died. Yeah.
400 got stung and hospitalized.
Wow.
40 died.
Yeah.
That's a 10% death rate.
Yeah.
That's better than the vid.
Do you think that YouTube's caught on to that yet?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, have they? Maybe we can cut that part out.
It's fine.
Beep it. Id Software, they've got a pretty good, I think people kind of generally like them, right? Pretty good PR.
Generally.
This is not the kind of thing that helps that.
No.
This really is a bad look.
ID Software is trying to stop a man who wants to name his band Doomscroll. I'll just point out that Doomscroll doesn't have anything to do with the Doom franchise. But this article points out how the lawyers have sent threatening letters to other people that wanted to trademark, Doom somewhere in their name, even though they might have nothing to do with computer software or computer games.
And this is one of those situations that points out the glaring flaw in the American legal system, which is he is right 100%. He should win this case, but they would be able to stretch it out and punish him for so long that he cannot win the case, even though the truth is on his side. Now, if you have a legal system where that's the case, you got to rethink it, don't you think?
Yeah.
Something needs to change there.
Things might be stacked in favor of whoever has the most money.
I think the system's working in the way it was designed.
Well, not the way it was designed, but the way it has been twisted
Yeah.
in the 200 years since then. This is a headline we've seen more. How many times have we seen this? 5, 6 at this point?
Oh, there was the expose that we did about this time last year where there was this elaborate, there were hundreds of fake accounts, and that's how they were tracking things.
And there was the guy who was using it to go after Spanish women.
Yep.
And then there's all sorts of stuff like this that they do. They keep getting called out for it, and Facebook is like, no, you cannot do this. But they don't stop them, do they?
Facebook tells the LA police to stop spying on users with fake accounts. So you got to imagine how egregious this is for Facebook to step up and say, guys, you got to tone this down just a little bit.
Literally in the training material. They teach it.
This is not a good look for Facebook when it comes out that, yet another person whose dog was murdered on a routine, noise complaint. And it's like, oh, yeah, Facebook, there was a fake account that was involved in that.
Terrible. And another reason you shouldn't be using Facebook. Although I'm sure they're on all the other social platforms too.
Yeah, it doesn't
Do you
matter
think,
where you are.
Are they like, listen, we got to get some young hires because no one here at the force knows how to do TikTok. Gonna get some recruits from the academy. And I gotta be honest with you, I didn't quite understand much about this story, but this quote was so good because our government, I think, has the same idea. Wouldn't you agree?
They agree. Yeah.
And that's not compatible with modern life.
No.
This should be a prerequisite, but it's not.
It's not the duty of a prospective counselor to know how to use a computer, Mabuza tells the NCOP. So this is a South African nation, South Africa. It is South Africa. Okay. That, they're local people, they're local counselors. This is like a local regional thing. There's a lot of economic problems in that area. They may be headed for some sort of collapse of their economy. And so computer literacy would probably be a good idea. But part of it seemed like he was saying that if you're elected, you don't have to be computer literate because the people chose you to be the best for the job. And so it's like, okay, maybe.
Well, I think the argument, when you boil it all down, is that this guy's the overall leader, and these regional leaders in this one area that's really poor are bad leaders. And the people are like, hey, these people can't even do the minimum part of their job. Like, they don't even show up for work. They don't do anything.
They don't know how to check their email. Yeah,
exactly. And his response to that is like, well, it's not their job. You chose them, didn't you? And they're like, no, the elections are fake. Your election was fake. And then he has them detained. It's disgusting, and yet not that much different from our country. Here's a story that it's funny because you remember when this happened downstairs? The cats?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some people, generally, it seems, well, I'm not even going to say that. Some people with serious mental issues, and my mom is one of these people, they have this idea that they're the savior of animals and that they must do that. And the unintended consequences of those actions mean nothing. No matter how many bad things happen after you feed the animal, you must feed the animal. That's the sickness. And it leads to this.
Grandmother issued with restraining order to stop feeding carrots to quote-unquote sad horse.
How fat did the horse get?
The horse is fine. That's the good news here. Horse is fine. So what happened was this woman, she walks past the horse for some reason many times a day, and she was like, oh, that horse is sad. So she started bringing carrots and feeding the horse carrots. And the little tops of the carrots were all over the field. And the woman who owns the horse was like, don't feed my horse. This is a race horse. He's on a very scientific diet. So what happened? This woman called the RSPCA, which I guess is the British version of the RSPCA.
Our SPCA.
The animal cruelty people.
Yeah.
Yeah, RSPCA. And they show up and they're like, hey, let's take a look at this horse. We've heard that it's sick. So they showed them the horse, who is at the peak of physical conditioning. It's literally a racehorse that's competed 3 times this year. And the woman said, I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it. She had to be arrested.
Wow. That's a commitment to a childlike wonder of feeding an animal.
The big question on my mind is the horse. Do you think the horse is thinking, God, I miss those carrots?
Probably. Yeah. They've got me on this sawdust of a food.
Carrots are one of the sweetest naturally occurring vegetables.
Which is why carrot cake was a thing. If you wonder, why did they make cakes out of carrots? They didn't have any sugar.
Yeah. The sugar in carrots was kind of a lot.
This is a follow-up to the Vietnam story. So if you don't know about the Vietnam story, one of the high-ranking communist guys went to the climate summit and lived it up a little bit more than you probably should if you're part of a communist government, because you're living a better life than everybody else when you're not supposed to be doing that. The biggest takeaway from that story is how far Vietnam went to silence it. And then this happened.
Vietnam, the police have summoned noodle seller after Salt Bay parody. So he posted a video of him putting salt and green onions in his, street noodles that he sells with a flourish. Kind of like, the Salt Bay.
Yeah, bending the wrist.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing.
But he titled the video Green Onion Bay. So he wants to be Green Onion Bay. So the police summoned him and said that they didn't really ask anything about the video, but it was, they kind of, were saying, don't do this again. We're keeping an eye on you.
But he was like, don't do what? What is this about? And the answer was, that's national security.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to know.
We're not gonna talk about that.
It wasn't national security, was it?
No.
Oh.
It was don't rock the boat or we're going to have to disappear you in the middle of the night.
But did he think he was rocking the boat?
I think he was having fun.
Which is not allowed in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just trying to capitalize on the news story.
Yeah.
And get some business for his business.
Come buy my noodles.
Yeah.
So if you're in Vietnam, you should check out that guy's noodle cart. And also let us know he's okay.
Based on this story, I'm going to give you a recommendation for a great YouTube channel and a video that you should watch. The YouTube channel is JCS Criminal Psychology. JCS is Jim Can't Swim. And he has a video of a woman who did this exact same thing, although she did it a little bit smarter. And they have they filmed everything. And you can watch the whole thing play out, and it's incredible because after she tries to get her husband killed, he's the phone call she makes from jail. She tries to gaslight him that she didn't do that. And it's just incredible. You got to check it out. This is the same story, except this woman did the least effort that you can imagine. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
I read this story and I thought this would be like you and I just sat down one day and for some reason like we built a website for this, and then because it was like ha funny and we were having funny in the moment, and then we forgot about it, and then 6 months later it was like, oh my god, somebody tried to use this.
Well, it almost
do we
is.
have to let the police know?
That's almost exactly that.
Yeah.
I think they were actively running the website, but I don't know if you think they built it and they're like, nobody's going to fall for this.
Yeah, no one will believe it.
Come on.
Michigan woman pleads guilty after trying to have ex-husband killed through fake Rent a Hitman website. Yes, it was really like over the top. Seems like a prop from a movie, rentahitman.com.
You know, there's actually a couple of these stories because I love this kind of thing, and I've heard a couple of these tales about, you know, the court cases that go down for these things. One thing that always shocks me is the low amount that they charge for the murders. $5,000.
That's
It was only, and she only had to put down a $500 down payment. But that's a bill you want to pay. You don't mess around with that debt.
you bring the person like a severed finger, and it's like, where's the rest of my money? And it's like,
So yeah, that's unfortunate. She didn't get a whole lot of jail time for that though.
yeah, it was only like 11 months or something.
It seemed pretty small when she was willing.
A cap of 108 months in prison, so about 10 years.
But that's still not enough.
What's it for attempted murder? Is that right?
I don't know if that's the exact charge, but she did definitely. I mean, she didn't try to kill somebody, but she tried to hire it. So, kind of the same thing.
Is there a contracting fee? Does that give you less time?
And how about the even better story than that was the woman who got duped by the prisoners and helped them escape. There's a great TV show about it. I can't remember the name of it. And instead, so like they were like, yeah, we're going to take you with us. And then they didn't take her with them. So she went back to her husband. It all played out. He knew about it and he took her back.
Wow.
They were supposed to kill him that night. Amazing. Amazing what love/desperation will do.
Yeah.
And was it love that caused Jaden Smith to break his father's heart? Or was it just poor box office?
Will Smith says the press was vicious to his son over After Earth failure. I led him into a public mauling. So, you know, they were in the movie together, and that movie did not do well critically, and it led his son into asking for emancipation at age 15, which is they go ahead and declare you an adult even though you're not 18 yet.
Now, Will Smith took the hit here. In his book, he said, yeah, it was my fault. But
Was
I
it?
remember this time, this kid's tweets were what were making people hate him.
Yeah, I don't think people didn't hate After Earth. I don't think they really liked it, but it was an actually just okay movie. Wasn't good, wasn't bad.
I think what people pointed out was, hey, just because this kid is Will Smith's son doesn't mean he can act. He
Yeah.
cannot. Which seems to be true.
I mean, maybe he was harassed outside of that, but I didn't hear anything about that.
The article did say that he's been in other stuff since then, and it hasn't, it's not gone badly. So
Yeah, but he's not setting the world on fire.
Why would you want to emancipate yourself just because a movie didn't do well? Maybe there's
Because
something
you're
else
a-
behind the scenes.
You're an entitled little piece of garbage is why. You're a rich kid.
Do you think, well, I wonder, will we get a Jaden Smith book next where he's like, here's what my dad got wrong?
It'll have to be ghostwritten. I bet he couldn't write a book.
He could, but it would just be like very cryptic.
Remember when he did all that, like, he was trying to be all, like, metaphysical?
How can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real? Wasn't that one of his
he's just an
tweets?
idiot. But no one's ever told him that. That's the problem. He's too... Like, no one had ever told him how stupid and uninteresting he was until that movie. And it was too much for him.
pardon me, sir.
Oh, man. How about every Shopify shopping cart now has this built in? Have you noticed that?
Yes.
It's with like Zezel or something like that.
I'll go you one darker. The next version of Edge is going to have this built in. Your Microsoft Bing account is going to be pre-approved for buy now, pay later.
Our road to debt serfdom is a two-pronged
there.
affair. It's
Yeah.
going to be hyperinflation and this.
Yeah.
You know what? If this is slightly less stupid than tweeting your crypto holdings. Don't do it.
Criminals love buy now, pay later, how fraudsters exploit popular interest-free payment plans. So if the fraudsters have got your social security number and your driver's license number and where you live and all your other info, they can just take out a payday loan or a buy now, pay later loan or whatever. And that just delays the amount of time from the fact that you've been hacked or compromised to the time that you actually notice and can do something about it. And then that becomes a lot harder to deal with. Because like if somebody uses your credit card and you can get a hold of Amazon before they actually ship it and they don't ship it, that's a lot easier to deal with than 3 months later people that you haven't dealt with are coming after you for money and they actually have your info. And it's like, what happened? Are they the scammers? What's going on?
They also point out that a lot of companies are getting into this. Like we said, the Shopify shopping cart. Those little companies don't really understand the nuances of how buy now, pay later works. One of the big things is categorization. So if your product is categorized as like high-priced consumer electronics, that gets some really serious fraud detection. But if it's diapers, well, who's going to do that, right? These little shopping cart companies will miscategorize. And so the AI will be like, we don't have to worry about that as much. But they should be worrying about it. And as soon as the scammers catch on to that, they just wipe them out. So.
This is why. Did anyone like layaway? Does Walmart even do layaway anymore? I mean, this is essentially kind of what that is. Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know.
No, they still do. They definitely do. They had record numbers. That was one of the things in the local papers. The local Walmart was like, we've never had this much in layaway before.
I don't understand, though, I guess maybe during the inventory crisis, it makes a little more sense, right? Because they do hold that one item, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
That makes more sense. But otherwise, it would always make more sense to just discipline yourself and hold the money yourself.
Yeah.
Because you get the increase. You might change your mind.
Well, people have always really liked it at Walmart because, the hot Christmas items of, this isn't the first year that we've had supply issues. Think about like Xbox and
that makes sense.
Video games and crap like that. So it's like if you can reserve an Xbox in like November, do it. And it's,
it's going to take you a lot more than 1 month.
Yeah, now it is.
Yeah.
Well, here's a terrifying headline. I don't know how realistic this is or who's saying this exactly, but it certainly does alert it makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck, huh?
Russian ransomware gangs start collaborating with Chinese hackers. I would call this is a fun article, you should read this, but I would call your attention to the story that we had 2 or 3 weeks ago when it said, wait a minute, this was a Chinese language hack that had Russian letter keyboards installed. And so it's like, wait a minute, is somebody trying to make it look like somebody else is doing something? What's going on with this?
Well, they do have some screenshots from the forums, the Russian forums, in Chinese. So they claim they're trying to recruit them. Maybe it's misdirection.
Maybe it's double misdirection, or maybe an incident of misdirection has popped up and said, wait, that looked like it was the Chinese. We're the Chinese. We definitely know it wasn't us. Was it you guys? Well, it wasn't you guys. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yes. That could be bad for us.
Well, here's an interesting headline because you would think like, well, isn't the U.S. also doing this? Yeah, for sure we are.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But South Korea is unique in the fact that they seem to be only doing it to foreign nationals, not their own people.
South Korea is giving millions of photos to facial recognition researchers. So if you've traveled into South Korea and you've used the little kiosk thing, you're in the database and your face is with a researcher.
Probably not much you can do about it. Just enjoy being part of the data set.
You're not in South Korea. You don't have any rights. Oh, no.
There are some local people who are trying to do class action lawsuits, whatever that looks like in Korea. I don't know if that will have any success. I wouldn't be too hopeful about it. And I'm not too hopeful about this one either, although I am terrified that they will use it like drug dogs because it'll alert whenever you tell it to if you build it right.
The Utah company says it revolutionized truth-telling technology. Experts are highly skeptical. So this technology looks at the movement of your eyes in order to determine if you're being truthful or not. Sounds like more snake oil.
Yeah, what if you have, what's that condition where your eyes like tremble? Does it count for that?
You're going to prison.
What's the one thing, they arrested that guy finally that was doing the classes. I wonder whatever happened with that.
Classes?
Yeah, he was doing the classes on like why the galvanic skin response lie detectors are garbage, and they've been trying to arrest him and stop him for years, but they finally did arrest him for something.
Yeah, they love this kind of thing, and I think they love it for the reasons I just said. It's because you can just make it say whatever you want.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to use it in court, but you can get past any little hurdle in the investigation and use this as an excuse. So
It's like the drug dog alerted, and it's like,
just remember that right now, you could say no to this, and you always should. Always.
but that's suspicious. They'll bring that up at your trial. Like, you have the right to do that, but because you had the right to do that and did that, that's suspicious. They're not supposed to say that, though.
They're thinking it.
Especially in court. Now this is a follow-up to the story that I wanted to run. But so here is the backstory. There was a tennis player in China. I think she won Wimbledon in like 2013. She's very good, and she was one of the best tennis players to ever come out of China. She recently made some accusations on social media about sexual abuse from high-ranking members of the Communist Party. Can you guess what happened next? I bet you can.
She disappeared.
If you've ever seen anything about our stories on China.
Ping Shuai,
Shuai, maybe?
Ping Shuai.
Shuai?
The UN has called for proof of Chinese tennis stars' whereabouts. The Women's Tennis Authority chairman is willing to pull out of China completely. We will not do women's tennis in China anymore unless something happens to show us that she's okay.
That's a brazen move.
Yeah.
Good for them. I don't know that.
What? Good for them?
No. I mean, like, good that they're willing to pull out. If.
Oh, you mean the tennis association?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy world that you live in. You have to appreciate, because she was obviously probably a rich woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And living a very happy life, and she had to know that this could cause problems. But she was brave enough to do it. Now, I think that she was alleging that it was similar to our women's gymnastic thing here, in that it was ongoing, and it was affecting everybody.
I hope she gets out okay.
I don't think she will.
I'm going to have to look that up and see if they ever find her.
Once again, I have to say that I'm so glad that stuff like that doesn't happen in this country. I mean, it's so...
But it happens all the time.
What do you think...
Wendell literally 5 seconds ago, didn't this happen to the gymnasts? It's like, oh...
What do you think that Jinping would do if his daughter was to lose her diary?
Probably send the state police or the police.
I think it was the FBI,
law enforcement authority, to go and collect it.
2 different addresses. And finally, last week I forgot to put Krista's marketplace story in there. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But this week we have one, and it's a doozy. We didn't realize that these even existed, but we found out that not only do they exist, but this is a bargain.
Avatar Boy Baby on the marketplace.
It's $75. It is super disturbing. They sell these for $375 on
Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
It's a real baby. And according to the Amazon listing, it has real genitals.
Oh.
Real baby feeling.
That is something.
I've seen these real babies before, and they're usually marketed toward like young girls. But I've never seen one that's a creature, like a humanoid.
Was it James Cameron that was the director?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think he okayed this?
Well, Krista looked it up on Amazon. I think this is probably third party, right? What's the copyright issue there?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like... if Miramax is worried about what's-his-name's NFT hand scribbles, surely to God.
Yeah, what the hell is this? Like...
Evita?
Why? Can Miramax get on that? I mean, it's not Miramax.
Oh, this is a different brand, the one that I found on Amazon.
Also, there's competing Avatar babies.
Good Lord.
Now, there got to be other movies that they do this with, too, right? Like, what would be another movie you might make a character
Chubby hands and feet. All right, hang on. Well, let's see if there's another
Hobbit
Avatar
babies.
baby.
With really hairy feet.
Oh, there's several different brands, it looks like.
Wow.
So this was a good, popular enough to have even knockoffs of the knockoff.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Oh my gosh.
I don't know, man. That's crazy.
Why is this a thing? So this is definitely not licensed by James Cameron. Anyway,
I suppose that there's nothing about the Avatar people specifically that you could copyright, right? Blue people with tails.
yeah.
I mean, what about the Nightcrawler?
I mean, but they put Avatar in the listing. Like, there's a lot of results for that on Amazon.
Well, think about this. If there's someone in your life that's hard to buy gifts for, that has everything, like what do you get the person that has everything? Avatar, baby.
It's sort of the reverse Beanie Baby investment model, too. Because that's an incredible loss of value in a short time.
Oh, we've been talking about redoing the set. Maybe we need to contact this guy and get this Avatar baby to put on the set.
75. I mean, we are doing well. We could probably afford it.
Think how beautiful he'd be sleeping in the back all the time.
You know what? The great thing about buying the Avatar baby for somebody for Christmas is that not only do you get a great Christmas present, but you get a great TikTok video that you film as they open it. Their reaction.
Its eyes open because it's closed there, but some of the others it's open. I think
This just looks like it's in a coffin.
Yeah, I don't like it. Oh no, his eyes are closed there.
No, they're always closed here. Maybe you're looking at the other brand.
Yeah.
Well, that'll
strange.
keep you awake at night. You're welcome. We'll see you next week for the live episode on Monday.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
right. Don't forget on Monday. What time are we going to do that?
Ooh.
No earlier
Yeah,
than
I need
noon.
to make a Twitter post for that.
Let's say it's like 1. Well, let's just do it at the normal time, right?
Yeah.
1:30.
1:30. Okay.
1:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're in Standard Time now, right? Yeah. We will do live news. Enjoy that.
We'll see you then. Bye.